Hi everyone, it's me Arden Lee, and today's video is a question that was asked by one of the members of the Repatterning Parlor, who asks, how do you deal with stonewalling in a relationship? If you haven't heard of the term stonewalling, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when someone puts up a wall and refuses to communicate and basically shuts the other person out. It was also coined as one of the Four Horsemen of the Relationship Apocalypse by Dr. John Gottman. The other three horsemen are criticism, contempt, and defensiveness, right? So criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Those are the four things, according to Dr. John Gottman, that will doom a relationship. So let me ask you, how do you deal with stonewalling in a relationship? Why are you in a relationship with someone who wants to kill your relationship? I understand this is some tough love, you guys, but we are at a point in our development where hopefully, if you've been following this content, if you've been a member of this community, and I understand this is some tough love, but this is something that we should be able to recognize by now. We want to be able to select for partners who want healthy relationships. Nobody is so special, so attractive, so good in bed, so whatever. You've created a narrative around them that makes you want to be with them, that makes you think that you can just fix everything on your side and somehow that will make the relationship work, which absolutely will not work. Nobody is that great, you guys. Judge greatness by the way that people handle their relationships. If you're with someone and they're doing one of the Four Horsemen, then that's something that you want to acknowledge. And sure, you can give someone a chance and you can say, listen, healthy communication in relationship is one of my necessities. It is a deal breaker if I don't have that. And if we can't communicate, then there's no point in both of us being here. Now, it's possible that, in fact, I would say it's in many situations, I would say it's even probable that, we reflect the polarity of our own behavior, right? So oftentimes, if we're being stonewalled, then that can be a clue that maybe we ourselves are not being reasonable in our communication. Maybe we are engaging in one of the other three horsemen. Maybe we are engaging in criticism. Maybe someone is stonewalling us because we're criticizing them and they're done with it. They don't want to hear that anymore, right? Maybe we're displaying contempt. We're making personal attacks. These are all things to look at. But overall, if we're taking care of our side of the fence and we're saying like, hey, let's communicate, let's try and resolve our issues as a team, let's work through this problem together, then why is stonewalling something that you still want to put up with? I empathize in my own, experience in my 20s. I really thought, I can choose a person and I'm in love with them and I'm going to make it work and I'm going to accept them just as they are and I'm just going to deal with it. I have a book that's still on my bookshelf to this day, I believe, called Loving a Narcissist, right? Like how to love a narcissist. And, because I was attracted to this guy who clearly displayed narcissistic tendencies. So I went to Barnes and Noble and I bought the book and I'm sitting there being like, yeah, I'm going to solve this, And even the author of the book says, please understand, like, this is for people who are making a choice to love a narcissist. I don't recommend this, but if you're in a situation, maybe you have kids, you can't leave, or for whatever reason you're choosing to do this, then here's how to deal with that. And at the time, clearly, that's what I was choosing too. And I didn't have kids or anything, and I had, every resource to be able to leave. I was living on my own, I didn't need that person in any way. But I was stuck in this pattern of believing that if I just figured out my half of things, then surely I could make it work. And that's just not how it works. You guys, we need to be able to raise our standards. We need to be able to get clear on how we want to be treated. And we need to not allow anything like sex or attraction or, or whatever illusions we're coming up with in our heads about this person get in the way of our needs and our boundaries. you'll get to a point where no matter how attractive you may have found someone at first, you'll get to a point, if you keep doing this work and you really commit to it, you'll get to a point where no matter how attracted you may have been to them at first or how good the sex was, you'll get to a point where things like stonewalling or things that are not conducive to healthy relationships will be so unattractive to you that it will outweigh all of the other things that you saw and that you were attracted to. And that's the point that we really want to get to. We have to, well, we don't have to, but I strongly encourage us to rewire our habits and our patterns so that we end up getting the results that we want. And part of that is changing what we're attracted to. And that sounds difficult because when we say changing what we're attracted to, what we often think of is, oh, just go settle for that person over there who, you know, the nice guy or the nice girl who's like into you, you know, that you're totally bored by. Just settle for that. That's not at all what I mean. This is an overall holistic change in the qualities that you find attractive. It means that even when someone looks attractive from the outside, once you learn that, you know, stonewalling is something that they do in their intimate relationships, then you're like, oh, I'm not into that anymore. That's a turn-off, right? And that our turn-ons are things like healthy communication, are people who meet our needs, you know, are people who are working on themselves, are people who want a healthy relationship, are people who value having a healthy relationship and put the work behind it so that they can create that. If you're coming and watching these videos and you're doing this work on yourself and you're still choosing people who don't align with those values, then you're only going to get so far. And that was a problem that I had too, you know, also in, you know, in my late 20s as I was getting into, you know, the relationship coaching field. You know, I kind of went from, you know, I became a pickup artist and yeah, I was a pro dom, I was a sex educator, I was a pickup artist, and that led me into, you know, the circles of, you know, tantra and relationship coaching and sex education. And I would listen to some of my favorite sex educators, relationship educators talk about, you know, healthy relationship behaviors. And there was a period of a couple years where I really thought that if I was doing all of the healthy relationship behaviors, then surely that would be strong enough to, then surely anyone that I was dating would see my example and see how, you know, healthy and smooth and you know, communicative and solution oriented I was making everything, and that somehow that would either convince them or override their own patterns and they would fall in love with me and everything would be happily ever after. And that is not the way it works, you guys. We have to be with people. We have to select for people that also value healthy relationships. So there I was, you know, there I was doing all this work on myself, going to all these relationship seminars and like listening and like watching videos and absorbing all this material. I was still dating people who had completely unhealthy relationship habits and patterns. So the overall way that I'm going to answer this question is please select for people who have the same values around relationships as you do. This is something I'm still working on, you know? This is something that I've made vast improvements on in the last several years, but I'm still finding places where I think that if I can do something, if I can model certain behaviors, then surely they'll see that these are healthy and they'll adapt to my way, just because it's easier, it's better, it's more fun, it's less stressful. I will engage in intimate containers with people who have been in unhealthy relationships before me. And I'll be like, see, look, isn't this the great way of doing things? You know, And it's not enough. And if I can't do it, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you definitely can't do it. If there was anyone who was going to find a way to convince people, right? But it just doesn't work that way. And even if someone is intending to be healthier in their lives and working on personal development, we also have to look at, do they value relationship? Do they actually value being in a relationship? That's a big one that's coming up for me right now. That's a place where I'm further working on myself. So anyway, I think I've gotten the point across, and I hope this was helpful. But if you're dealing with any of the four horsemen of the relationship apocalypse in your relationship, and you're trying to do the right thing and the other person is not, you gotta walk away. You gotta say, this is not worth it to me. They can, maybe if they do some work on themselves and they figure it out, they can come back. And yes, maybe we can also look at ourselves and where we're, maybe creating circumstances where people don't want to communicate with us because our communication is harsh, right? Or we're criticizing, so we're receiving criticism back, right? So yeah, of course. But even if we do clean up our entire side of the relationship, we can't override someone else's patterns and habits. It would be so nice if we could, because it's definitely, well, it's getting easier, but I was going to say it's not easy finding people who do the work on this level. But, you only need one. So raise your standards and don't settle for less, because it's just not going to work out that way. We can't change people or convert people just because our way is better or we think our way is better, or because Dr. John Gottman said our way is healthier. Unfortunately, the people we date, they're not obligated to care about the opinions of Dr. John Gottman, or my opinions or your opinions. We have to select for the people who want to be in healthy relationships, and that means backing it up with their behavior. Thank you guys. Hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time.